And there you go. Um, the agenda was sent out. We are very excited for our ACTL meeting tonight, Wednesday, the 4th of November, to have updates from three very important groups within APS, our gifted services, our English learners, and our special education. And then we will, if you were here at the last meeting, we went into breakout groups. We will do that again. And hopefully you will get to choose which breakout room that you want to go to, just like you did in the last meeting. If for some reason you do not see that, we did run into that the last meeting where, again, depending on the probably the version you have of Zoom, if you're on what type of device you are, you may or may not see the option to choose. And so once everybody who does see the option to choose which of the three rooms they want to go into, then I'll just run down the list and I'll be able to put you in the room that you would like to go into. So just to kind of to go through that. And I think it worked out. We got some pretty good feedback that it seemed to work pretty well last time. So we're going to cross our fingers again and hope that we have positive outcomes this time as well. So at this point, I will go ahead and turn it over to, I guess, Cheryl, who is up first, or Bridget, did you want to introduce, or Sarah, did you want to introduce Cheryl, or before I just turn it over to?
Sure, I'll jump in and introduce Cheryl McCullough, our esteemed supervisor of gifted services. And while we're at it, I'll also introduce Sam Klein, our equally esteemed supervisor of English learners, or the Office of English Learners. And finally, but not last but not least, Kelly Krug, our director of elementary special education. So I think they're going to follow each other in the presentation. I want to thank Sarah Putnam, as always, for as our director of curriculum and instruction, for working with these folks to pull together this presentation.
Yeah, and I just want to point out Heather is also here.
Heather here too? Oh, yes. Heather. Kelly wasn't last. Heather was last. So Heather Rothenbuscher, our director of secondary special education.
I am, Rebecca, it isn't letting me share for some reason, or maybe it's just my settings, but when I click on it, it just says like a bunch of explanation points.
Okay, well, I have the PDF, so I can share just to get us going here.
Okay.
Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, and then since I'm going to be sharing, I'll just ask real quick the vice chairs if you can monitor that. That would be phenomenal, as you guys always are. So I appreciate it. Okay, so now I just got to figure out how to. There we go. Is that
okay? That's me, I think. I am Cheryl McCullough. Nice to be here tonight. And we were asked to give an update on where things were with our respective programs or services. And I wanted to say that our everything that we do is documented in our local plan for the gifted. It's on our website. It's the first thing you'll see if you ever go to our website, and it's really just documents a lot of what our services look like, and all the supports we have in place. We also, as more of a living document, because we have to do the local plan every 5 years, our website has living, like, things that are more current in terms of what's happening now. And I have added some frequently asked questions based on where we are now. And I'm happy to add anything that parents would think would be helpful to them as you review that. And I would like to ask people to follow us on Twitter. That's our way of us really helping people see the complexities of the roles of the resource teachers and the wonderful collaborations that are already happening. So I think it gives people a nice overview of what's happening in our school district. This is for all three of us, not just for gifted services, but Sam and Kelly and Heather and I work with Sarah and Bridget to create these bi-monthly messages to parents, which is a great opportunity to to give people some updates on things that are happening, to give parents and families ideas and resources for their children. And then also I'm taking and I'm seeing it with my colleagues. We're giving a little bit of snippets of like what's happening currently in the county. And that's where some of us are using our Twitter account just to kind of show you what's really going on in different schools. And I'm trying to highlight different schools and at each level to give people a visual, because I know it's when you switch from the brick and mortar to the virtual, I've had a lot of questions of, well, what's going to be different? And so I want people to see that we are in a virtual environment right now, but services really are, the expectation for services are the same. So we're still collaborating with cluster teachers. The resource teachers are on a weekly basis. They're planning tiered lessons for children. They are helping with pre-assessments. They are modeling lessons. So everything they were doing in the brick and mortar school day, they've shifted that support in a virtual environment. Okay. Basically same thing. This is just really some specifics about our delivery model. And just sometimes when I get calls or I'm asked to go to meetings with families, it's a lot of it tends to be helping people understand what our model is and why we do that. We focus on an inclusive model of collaboration for daily differentiation for gifted learners. We know that having a separate pull-out program with 45 minutes a week or an hour a week is really not enough for a child who's been identified gifted. Children who are identified as gifted or advanced or what have you really need that constant depth and complexity. They need this all the time. They just don't need it an hour a week. So we've really shifted to how do we really support teachers in delivering that differentiation on a daily basis. So children are clustered together whenever possible in large numbers, to be 5 or above when that's possible. With this new hybrid and virtual learning, that's made things a little bit more difficult, but we are trying to work group gifted children together, because we know, or the research says, that when children or advanced or gifted children are grouped together with a teacher who has a background or an inkling to teach gifted children, they have an academic growth of at least a half a year or a year. So we know we want to have those two things put in place. We have a APS, critical and creative thinking framework, that is something that we use to plan rigorous activities for all children and for advanced learners. And we're constantly working with teachers to do that. And same thing with curricular resources that are written for gifted. We have targeted resources, high quality resources at K through 12. I put the same slide in for elementary and then middle and high. Okay. And so the services look a little bit the same. So what I wanted to do between all three was just kind of show you different examples. Thank you. So this just gives you an example of some of the things we work on at one of the examples is a resource teacher at McKinley, and he's showing that, he's working on math anchor activities with their teachers. He's working on critical and creative thinking during word study. He's working with teachers on Jacob's Ladder, which is a critical thinking model to help improve children's comprehension. And when they use the Jacob's Ladder, they go up in the level of intensity when they're reading. And he's also sharing how he's modeling digital portfolios in Seesaw. So, and then the next picture right beside it is one of his teachers commenting on two of the things that he is talking about here. And that's really important because it's really showing that the collaboration that's happening, because what we want is for the resource teacher to be working with cluster teachers and modeling that. But we also want these things to be happening when when the resource teacher's not there with the cluster teacher. So this is just kind of showing you what this teacher is doing with this learning. And the next slide is a similar thing. Same thing. This Project M Cubed is a mathematical unit out of the Javits grant from the National Research Center, and we use that in collaboration with the math coaches. And that's just again showing another. This is Ms. Franz, is the resource teacher of ATS, and then she has a teacher who she worked with on Project M Cubed, and also another teacher that she worked with on Habits of Mind, which was what we used to really try to support the social emotional learning at the beginning of the year, which was so important. And this is just yet another example for people to see. I'm just looking at the time to make sure. I think I was supposed to stop at 7:20, so I want to make sure. In middle school, it's very similar. It's we do have advanced mathematics options available in grades 6 through 8. In the other subject areas, we are clustering children whenever possible in middle school, and the resource teacher is there to support the daily differentiation, the same as in elementary school. So the models are still the same. They are the same. And again, they're meeting each week. In both elementary and middle, they are collaborating with the special ed case carriers for twice exceptional children. They are collaborating with the ELS teacher to make sure that we are looking for children who may be speaking a second language at home and are learning English very quickly. And at middle school, we are also collaborating a lot with the equity and excellence coordinators to really try to find children and nurture their potential who may not have been identified for gifted services previously. Okay, this is examples of what's happening at, I just picked Ham Middle School, sorry. And as you can see that Kat is working with the 6th grade social studies class on debates. And then I also added her working with a reading class in 6th grade and the science grade 7th. I think both of these shows, again, the complexity and the level of support that the resource teachers are giving. And there's one resource teacher per building who supports 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, all content areas. So. This is an example from Williamsburg, where the Williamsburg resource teacher worked with teachers to create some choice boards as some extension activities for children. And then also another example of her working with some 6th grade science. In high school, it's a little different because children can self-select AP and IB courses, and but they're still working with the intensified teachers. They're still working with AP and IB teachers to make sure that children have those extra levels of extensions when needed, even in AP and IB courses. And high school resource teachers are also fully involved and manage the Sumner Residential Governor School. I manage it overall, and then they work with me to help get to work with students to get applications in and to help them understand the opportunities. They also work with Prime, which is the mentoring experience they can have in the summer, and also the independent study. They work with the counseling office on independent studies. And in all levels, they lead the screening and identification process as well. And this is just an example from our friend at WNL, Liz Burgos, showing that she's been working with teachers on DeBono's thinking hats, which is part of our critical and creative thinking framework. And then also she really works with a questioning formulation technique, which is a great way to get students to start asking really good questions. So let me see. It's another one. This is Eileen Wagner. She works a lot with the computer science teachers at Yorktown, and they just won a design challenge, so that was pretty exciting. And then Wendy Maitland at Wakefield is very involved in the United Minority Girls and the boys group at Wakefield, and they have some great opportunities to really give experiences for children to see, to really think about where they want to go to college and how to support them in getting there. I just put in that some people ask me a lot about cluster teachers and how do we prepare cluster teachers for these experiences with teaching gifted learners, especially when they have other children in the classroom that may need different levels of support. So with the virtual experience that happened in March, and knowing that we were going to enter the year virtually, I quickly jumped on trying to shift our professional learning to more kind of like on-demand opportunities. So webinars that teachers could access at any time to learn about different aspects of gifted learners that they might want to learn about. And this was so from pre-service all the way, and actually I just finished some today, we had over 590 webinars completed. And they're all around the topics of equity, social emotional learning, virtual teaching and learning, differentiation, problem-based and project-based learning. So it's been pretty exciting to see that really take off this year. People always ask me, what should they do if they feel their child's not being challenged, because you know your child best. What I've been asking families to do is, first of all, when people are contacting me in September, is to really give schools time. This is a huge shift in the way we're teaching, and we do need to give teachers time. And I feel like we're getting in the point where we're really understanding the virtual environment now. We have, we're figuring out all the breakout rooms, and the resource teachers are supporting teachers weekly. If you're feeling like this is that your child is not being challenged, I really encourage people to talk to the teacher first. The teacher is someone that she is really responsible for the level of differentiation in the classroom, and it's really important to develop that relationship with the teacher. You could always ask the resource teacher to be part of that conversation, and then if after a while things aren't changing for whatever reason, I would encourage you to talk to the principal, and I can be part of those conversations at any time. I am a support to principals. I'm a support to people in DTL for gifted services. I'm support for your child. I'm a support for you, and I'm a support for teachers and resource teachers, obviously. So I'll say that. And okay, and then the screening identification process, people have asked me about that, and I've tried to keep that updated on our website. Right now, we have not been able to have our universal screeners that we've been doing every year. We haven't had one, we couldn't do it in March because that's when we moved to virtual in March. So right now we are planning to do these in 2021. And as soon as a decision is made, we will let families know. I, with a bunch of coordinators for gifted and across the state, did request that the state rethink some of the guidelines so that we would not have to have an ability assessment this year because right now we can't screen children until we have an ability assessment, but they are holding firm to that. So we are really looking at serious options in 2021, and I'm working with the assessment office on that, as well as, of course, Sarah and Bridget. And this is just a reminder that we do have a webpage and just some FAQs, and I've developed around these topics. And this one, these are 3 different pages for parents. Resources to support varying needs of your child. There's one pagers that National Association for Gifted has published that I've added to the site. I've looked through some podcasts and webinars and different recordings I thought might be helpful to parents around different topics. And then in March, and then from now on, I've been adding some online resources to challenge your child at home. If you're looking for things that, maybe on a Monday or something at night that you could do together. So that's just some things there. And then the Gifted Services Advisory Committee is my committee within, of course, ACI. And I just thought I'd give them a nod here. Our chair is Dan Corcoran, and they are a very supportive group. We put I do an update every month for them, and I add that to the website. We also have our past GSAC reports to ACI and the school board on there, and also our past program evaluations. If you want to see anything, that's right there. Okay, and feel free to come to any of our meetings. And that is my last slide, I think.
Rebecca, we have a few questions, but given the time, I wonder if we should be taking those in the breakout groups.
Yep, I think that we'll get through the presentation, and again, if somebody chooses to go into that breakout group, we can we can revisit it there. If not, again, we will capture all the questions that are in the chat. But again, just to try to make sure we have enough time here, we're going to just move on to Sam Klein is next. English learners.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And Cheryl, hard to follow you. You always have such great information. But I think one thing everyone here will see is going from Cheryl to me and then to Kelly and Heather is we have a couple of things in common. One is we're very proud of our work, and we're very proud of the students that we provide services for, but also that we work very well together. As Cheryl mentioned, she meets with our office and she meets with the Office of Special Education. In our office, the Office of English Learners does the same thing. And so we all work very well together because we do have students that cross over. So what I thought I would do is just talk a little bit kind of how things are going, then a little bit, build a little background. I don't know everyone's background knowledge on the English learners in Arlington, and then show a couple of examples, as Cheryl did, of what it's looking like in a distance learning environment. Because distance learning not only is new, but it's a very interesting way to learn a language and learn grade level content at the same time. So first of all, our classes are fully engaged. It's amazing. I've had an opportunity to visit a handful of classes, especially in the last 2 weeks, and just to see the engagement of the students. A couple of things stand out that I find to be so important. One is that our teachers really are focusing on all the things they're supposed to, including the social emotional needs while working on the relationships. We always say in education that it's difficult to teach a student if you don't have great relationships. And I find that with English learners, we really focus a lot on those relationships, especially if a student might have experienced trauma on their journey here, or just learning a whole nother language. Trying to build trust in another language takes a lot of work. Even online, I was in a first or second grade class the other day, and they started off the class with this whole idea of, what animal are you that demonstrates your feelings today? And I had a picture and it said happy, sad, different things, but it had an animal, and the students were acting out the animals. And I think that's so important The students are learning the language, they're learning the understanding of the importance of their own social emotional needs, and it was great. And I'm pretty sure that was in first grade, but it goes all the way up to high school. We've had some great examples. I was at a high school class last week, and the teacher talked about just briefly, just maybe 1.5, 2 minutes about what kind of exercise or stretching or stress relief are you doing during the day that helps you complete your day. And I thought, wow, this is great. These are 16, 17-year-olds who really need that. And of course, I was thinking selfishly, wait, what am I doing several times a day for stress relief? But I love the idea of building the language, building the relationship, and addressing the social emotional. I think a lot of our teachers do very well with that. Now, in the visits with the classrooms, I've been visiting the English learner in some general ed classrooms that have English learners. And one thing I've noticed, two things really, is our main goal is focusing on language and content, because we teach the language through the content. So we don't just teach the color red or the color blue, we're teaching the language arts standard of first grade, or we're teaching the social studies standards of sixth grade, or the biology standards in high school, and we're infusing language into that. So at any given time, we call them the two columns or the two pillars that students are always learning language and content. In a virtual distance learning environment, sometimes that's a little tricky, but our teachers have been really focusing even more on that, because they know that without having the social interaction in person, that you really have to focus on those two things, the language and the content. I've been so impressed with our teachers' abilities to move, as I described today, talking to a couple of teachers, moving fluently between Canvas and Nearpod and Kahoot in a way that now that, this was in October when I started looking at some of the classes, to see their ability to move through the technology was so impressive. And of course, for some of the students, it's also new technology for them. So to see that was very important. Another thing we're seeing is the use of both large group and small group instruction. It's very important with English learners, because English learners need opportunities for that focused learning, either one-on-one or in small groups. That's that sustained reciprocal conversation back and forth, or opportunities in small groups for writing and giving feedback on someone else's writing. So we need both that large and small group, and we've been seeing that when we visit the classrooms. And that's really at elementary, kind of starting with that large group and going to small groups. And middle school and high school, we're more of a self-contained model. We have some co-teaching classrooms, but a lot of the teachers in these self-contained classrooms are doing kind of whole group, and then doing some of the breakouts as well, because they really want to get to that focus on language and content and differentiating for the needs of the students. Although our students are divided by English language proficiency levels, which I'll talk about in a minute, this also gives them a chance to really get at the individual needs of students. And what I've been saying to everyone is, overall, I've seen a great engagement of the students. Some of the teachers have actually said to me, they have shy students they had last year talking more in this environment than they talked in a large group setting at school, which I found so interesting. I don't think that I would say that it's better for students in the online environment, but what we're finding is, for some students, they're thriving because, whether it's the camera off or it's a small group, it's a different environment. And we're really, really happy to hear that for some students. But my standard line is, language learning is difficult enough, and adding distance learning makes it even a little more difficult. I think our teachers are doing a terrific job. I think our students and parents are doing a great job, but it has been a difficult transition. Let's see. So with the, one of the things I'm going to talk about in a minute is showing a little bit about what language and content really looks like. But this whole idea of doing things in tandem, a great example I saw the other day was a teacher talking about setting, and then having students write what their setting of their own autobiography would be. These are level 1 students who might have just arrived or are at the beginning stages of language acquisition. It was very impressive, through distance learning, talking about setting and giving students specific examples of words to use to describe setting. It was quite amazing, I have to say. So two other groups besides the L teachers I'd like to talk about. One are the bilingual family liaisons. If you're not familiar with our bilingual family liaison program, most of our schools have a bilingual family liaison, and by definition of their title, they're bilingual. Most of them are English Spanish speakers. We have English Arabic and English Mongolian as well. And when people ask kind of what is their role, I call them the unofficial door openers. Really, they're making families feel welcome. So in a non-pandemic time, a big part of their role is when a student enrolls and does their language assessment at the LSRC, when they come into the building, one of the first people they meet, if not the first, is the BFL, who welcomes them in, makes them feel comfortable, oftentimes giving them tours and letting them get to know who is the counselor, who are the teachers. But our BFLs have really worked overtime in a pandemic. If you can imagine what that's like in a building live, where you can read people's faces and you can hug somebody if they look like they're a little lost and say, hey, welcome, we're so glad you're part of the community. In the pandemic, that's been very difficult. Not only has their work been difficult, but if you can imagine back in April, when folks were just starting to get online, and for some of the L's, their parents have trouble reading the directions in English. That might not be their language. Our BFLs really did a great job in helping families connect to the internet, connect to the classes, connect to the teachers, answer questions. But if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they were also there to support families with helping them if they needed help with something like rent assistance, or knowing where the food distribution sites were, or something I learned of, which was very important, is, did you know that there are free diapers available in emergencies in Arlington? I didn't either. And so the BFLs had connected families who might have lost their jobs, connect them to some of the free resources like diapers. And anyone here who's ever changed a diaper, you know how important things like that are. Transitioning to the summer, they helped with our summer program and getting students online and troubleshooting with parents. And then of course, throughout the summer and into the fall, they've been helping parents get educated on the selection between hybrid and in-person learning. And they're doing this in another language. And they don't only work with the families who speak another language, they work with all families in the school, but they really have been a huge success in their work with our families. And then lastly on this slide before we go on, are our L counselors, English learner counselors. All of our secondary schools have at least a part-time, some have a full-time English learner counselor. And their main focus is really the social emotional support of the students. As I mentioned, some of our students have experienced trauma on their journey to the United States. Some of them have difficult situations at home, just like any student, but all of the L counselors are bilingual, and they're there to support the students at the middle and high schools. And they've had a lot of success in this very important time, because if you can imagine, if you took your children and moved to, let's pick a country, you moved to Greece tomorrow and you don't speak Greek, and you enrolled them in school and they're learning a language, and there's a pandemic, and all these things make it very difficult for them. So the L counselors have been a tremendous support. So thank you for going to the next slide. I always like to give a little bit of background when we talk about English learners. Sometimes people think of them as a singular group, and they really are a very diverse, heterogeneous, or mixed group of proficiency levels. So in Virginia, actually, we only have 4 levels, and you'll see 5 there, and I'll tell you why in a second. So when a student comes into the United States, any school in the United States, they fill out a home language survey. And from that home language survey, we determine if they need to be screened for English language proficiency eligibility. In Arlington, we do that at the LSRC. And if they are eligible, they would either be a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 in Virginia. Virginia does not have a level 5. I put that on there in case you're from another state and you're saying, but yes, WIDA has a level 5. And then level 6 would be when they become proficient in English. They're called level 6. Okay, can you try the next slide? Thank you. What this is actually a WIDA score report. This is what we assess the students every year to see if they're making progress with their English language proficiency. They're tested in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. They're weighted a little differently because some of the tests are a little more important in terms of their literacy development. But when we talk about a student at a level 4 or a level 3 or a level 2, they can be so different. I equate it to, not everyone who wears glasses is exactly the same person. I'm looking right now, I see several people with glasses on. We're very different. The thing we have in common is we have glasses. So just like an English learner at a level 4, they might be a level 4, but they might have different strengths in speaking or reading or writing. And teachers really get to know this information because that's how they target their instruction based on that. Next slide. So this is, and I'm just going to give one example at elementary and one at secondary because I'm watching my clock just to make sure we don't run over, because I know Kelly and Heather have a lot of great information to share. This was an example from elementary school. I have to come clean that the picture on the right is not from Arlington Public Schools. That was from the internet. Just I thought it was a good picture of an elementary student in front of a computer. But the one on the left was a class I attended, a first grade, for maybe first or second grade class. That was really focusing on the language of mathematics. As you see, the teacher had written the word represent and was showing how the dots represent numbers. And she had the problem. So the students were learning the math that 14 minus 3 equals 11, but they were also learning the term represent, and that the dots represented a place value. So very, I can't say this is a very easy way to do things, but certainly you can see that through distance learning, students are able to learn both the content and the language. Next slide, which I think is my last slide. So this is a secondary example. This was at a middle school, and on the left was the one I was talking about a little bit before. It might be difficult to see depending how large your screen is, but the picture on the left is a creek with a bridge and some ducks. And the teacher was saying, let's vividly describe the setting. And the sentence, the example was, it's afternoon at a creek. So you think that's a pretty simple sentence. What I'd like to ask you is, if you move to Greece tomorrow and you don't speak Greek, how long would it take you to learn how to say it's an afternoon at a creek? But more importantly, what the teacher was asking them to do is to be more descriptive. And so they were talking about the ducks are floating on the creek. The ducks are enjoying the sunny day. And so again, this is, it's teaching the language arts standard of what a setting is, but it's increasing the language acquisition by using vivid words and descriptive words. And then the right is also the same thing. It was a social studies class at middle school talking about the Revolutionary War. So that's the content. But in there, they were using the question, if you were the British, would you have seized or left the weapons? Talking, I'm going to guess, I'm not great at history, but I'm going to guess that had to do with Lexington conquered Massachusetts. But again, what the teacher was doing a great job of making sure the students understood the content, but giving them opportunities for language development that fit right into the lesson. So teachers are doing a great job. But again, given, if you ask me what's better, distance learning or in person, I would say, you know what, in person's a little easier for language acquisition. However, I think our teachers really are doing a terrific job with it. And at that note, my timer says 15 minutes and 16 seconds. Kelly and Heather, I'm sorry, I owe you a couple of seconds.
No problem, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And again, for anyone who has additional questions related to English learners, I can't see the chat right now, but we'll definitely monitor that. And please join the English learner breakout room when we get to that point.
Look forward.
So, yeah, thank you so much. So with that, I will turn it over to, I guess, Kelly. Are you going to take us through?
Start, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Krug. I'm the Elementary Director of Special Ed, and I'm here with the best partner ever, Heather Rothenbuscher, who is our Secondary Director of Special Ed. And so I'll do the first half and then she'll take over for the second half. So what I'm most excited about to tell you all this evening is that today we successfully brought back a little over 230 students for our level 1. It was so exciting. Our DTL team, our senior leadership team, ELT, we're out in the schools supporting our principals and assistant principals and our assistants and teachers, welcoming back some of our students, and just the happiness in everyone's eyes was so nice. Rebecca, there is one correction on here. So our students will receive 4 days of in-person support. We'll make that quick little adjustment and send you a fresh copy before you post it up to the website. Also, our students with disabilities in level 2 will transition back with their grade level peers. At the time that we did this PowerPoint, we were still operating with November and December, but we know that there's been a few updates to that. And, really piggybacking off of my colleagues for gifted and for English learners, it's been really amazing to see how our teachers have adapted to instruction in such a quick time. Both Heather and I have had a chance to be in just so many different instructional sessions where just the innovation of our teachers and how they're supporting our students has been amazing. We're seeing, our students getting small group, co-teaching, one-to-one, our related services, a variety of tools and resources being used. I was in a session earlier today and I was watching how, one student was pinning their assistant, and it was so nice for that student to be able to see that person who was providing some supports for him. So it was really nice to see that. We've also worked hard to provide some additional learning at home learning kits for our school, for our students in our MIPA and Life Skills program. Our elementary and middle school kits have been sent out. We are still waiting on a few materials for our Shriver and high school kits, but we anticipate those should come in hopefully this week or next week. And then our kits for our PEP program are also ready to go. And, those are things like additional fidgets, water timers, sensory tools, things like that to help at home with self-regulation, with attention, and with engagement. And our Office of Special Ed has been very busy creating extensive guidance documents for our staff. So whether that was for ESY this summer or for our distance learning that we've begun with and our hybrid guidance for when we begin hybrid, it's really important to us that our teachers have the information that they need to make sure that they're providing free and appropriate public education to our students, but also getting the guidance of safety protocols and new procedures and things like that. You can go to the next slide. This has also been a really busy month providing a lot of professional learning. I'll talk quickly about it, but then in the next slide, it gives a few more details. So this past October was Dyslexia Awareness Month. We are providing crisis prevention intervention training for our families. Another training is Project Core. And then for our teachers coming up, a training called Embracing the Virtual Teaching Continuum. And that's really about how to engage our learners online. But if you go to the next slide, it'll give a little bit more information. So we did collaborate with the English Language Arts and the Arlington Tiered System of Support to provide 7 sessions in October. We had over 651 participants register for our different sessions. Now statistically, those could be some of the same people, but we were delighted to see the high turnout, and it was really kind of nice to be able to offer them spread out throughout the whole month. And most of them were recorded so that we can provide access to any staff or families that couldn't attend that night. We're also offering our assistive technology and our autism low incidence disability team are partnering with our Parent Resource Center to offer a 12-week Project Core series. And Project Core is really helping our families have the knowledge of that core set of vocabulary that we need to be able to communicate efficiently. And it teaches them amazing techniques and strategies to build up those communication skills at no matter what place their child is with communication. And that's really important. There's no prerequisite, skills that a child has to have in order to be part of Project Core. It's, working with them wherever they're at and building up the core vocabulary for communication. Something that's new for us this year is providing we call it CPI, the Crisis Prevention and crisis prevention intervention strategies. We have over 90 parents signed up. And this is really a training that helps our parents on behavior management strategies, on de-escalation strategies. It's what we use in our school. Our teachers take a similar teachers and assistants take a similar training to this. There is also an in-person part of this training that our staff take that we're not able to do at the moment. But when we resume into normal times, they have an in-person part of the training. And then we have a transition series that's also coming up that's hosted by our transition services, PRC and PEP, offering a monthly transition series. I can let you see that. And then, I just want to say one more thing. The PRC is also really proud that we successfully had our first fall parent liaison meeting on the 21st of October. And currently we have 33 liaisons to all of our APS schools and programs. So it's really great to be able to have those liaisons in the partnership with the school. Okay, now you can go to the next slide. All right, and at this point, I will turn it over to Heather. She is going to walk us through a brief overview of our 5-year program, 5-year action plan to support our program evaluation from last year. So I'll turn it over to Heather.
Great, thank you, Kelly. So we completed a program evaluation last year and it resulted in 54 recommendations. And we went through the recommendations and we discovered 5 broad areas where these recommendations fall. And those areas are inclusivity, excellence, equity, access, and collaboration. So what we did along with our consultants at PCG is we looked at each of these areas and we developed goals for the next 5 years to address all of the recommendations that were provided in that evaluation. So we can go to the next slide. So the goal for inclusivity is basically our big one aligns with the strategic plan that APS has to have students included 80% of the time in the general ed setting. And our goal is 80% of the students in 80% of their time. And then we also want to look at exceeding the state targets for the number of children aged 3 through 5 with IEPs attending regular early childhood programs and receiving the majority of special education and related services in that early childhood program. So looking at all of our students from early childhood all the way through high school and beyond. And then our next goal area is excellence. And we are looking to exceed the state standards for the number of children aged 3 through 5 in the areas of social emotional skills, acquisition, and the use of knowledge and skills of appropriate behaviors for those students who are entering school below age expectations. And then we are also looking at achievement for our students with disabilities. We want our students to score proficient or advanced in reading, writing, and math, and steadily increase those scores each year, which you can kind of see each year we have a targeted benchmark. The next area that we are working on is equity. And this one is a little bit tricky. We really talked a lot about how do we measure equity, what does equity mean in special education, and we thought a lot about historically overrepresented and underrepresented groups in our population. And we wanted to look and see which groups of students are at risk of being placed in a more restrictive setting. And so we developed with the collaboration of the consultants at PCG, developed a risk ratio where we're able to see, like, is one group more likely or less likely to be placed in a more restrictive setting. So we definitely are targeting this to make sure that all of the groups have the same chance of being put into the appropriate LRE, which is the least restrictive environment, to make sure that everyone is in the place where they truly should be. And then our next area is access. And we're looking here at students with IEPs in advanced level courses. So we are looking at students who complete their advanced level courses by either scoring 3.0 or higher in AP, 4.0 or higher in IB. If they are get a passing grade in the honors or intensify courses in high school, or passing grades for college in the dual enroll classes, and then pass their industry credential in those career and technical education courses that require that industry credential. And then for collaboration, as Sam mentioned in his presentation, we all do a lot of collaboration. And in the Office of Special Education, we work with all of the departments in APS and a variety of different community members. So we tried really hard to think of a way of quantifying how we are collaborating. And we get public comments from our advisory committee, the ASAC committee, each month. And when we hear these comments, Kelly and I go back and we sort of talk to the people who may have been involved in the situation that the parent or the community member is talking about. And we try to understand how we may be able to improve upon that. And sometimes that means that we're working with transportation, sometimes that's school help, sometimes it's principals or finance, a variety of different areas. So we felt like if we could resolve those comments each month, then that would show the collaboration that we are having with a variety of different people. And the last thing that I'll talk about before we break out is our inclusive model sites. So this year we're supporting 7 schools that we're calling our inclusive model sites to focus on building the mindset of their staff, building the structures to support that collaborative planning, building up their toolbox to support diverse learners in the classroom, and helping build out our inclusive practices guidance document, which now we have a draft form of that. And as we work through this year, we're going to be able to identify areas that need to be expanded, things that need to be clarified, and make that available for the entire school division next year. And then we also want to look at our planning factors and see if there's anything that needs to be adjusted to provide adequate staffing for our schools to be more inclusive, and then also look at what budget implications these things may mean. So if you want to go to the next slide. One way that we're working with our schools is we have a monthly professional learning plan. So each month we have a topic, we have activities, resources, and presentations for our schools that go from creating inclusive teams to growth mindset, all the way through instruction, data collection to parent and family community engagement. So we have mapped out the year with this group, and as we work with these 7 schools, we hope to be able to improve upon this plan, and then next year be able to roll it out with all of our other APS schools. And that is the end of our special education presentation.
Great. Well, thank you both, Kelly, Heather, so much for coming and providing that presentation. So I am now going to stop sharing, and this presentation was in the materials that were sent out, and as and if there's any updates, like Kelly mentioned, we'll make sure those are updated, and this will be posted on the website with the recording as well. So if you don't already have this, it is available. So for you guys to share with your PTAs, your communities, your organizations. And again, even after tonight, if there are comments or questions, again, please, please provide those or share them, and we will definitely pass them on. And/or I think they've provided their contact information directly as well. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to open, okay, breakout rooms, because I'm so good at this. So I'm going to go ahead and open all the rooms. They're set for 30 minutes. So that'll just give us a 5-minute to wrap everything up at the end. You will be able to select the room that you want to go. Again, there'll be a special education, English learners, or gifted. And we will have a vice chair in each of the rooms. And it sounds like we are very fortunate that we are going to have the staff liaisons, the supervisors, it looks like, continue to join us, which we're really thrilled. So thank you so much for your time. So I'm going to open them. And again, if you can put yourself in them, please do. And if you cannot, then at the end, I will make sure that I get you to where you need to go. So hopefully I just opened the rooms. If you guys see that, the breakout rooms. If you do not, please let me know.
Do not see them.
Nobody sees them?
I don't see them either.
Yeah.
I don't see them.
I don't either. Yes, I don't either.
I don't see them.
Okay, well, this isn't working. It worked last time. Hold on, let me,
Can you possibly cut and paste the links into the chat?
oh, wait, hold on 1 second. Okay. Now, you should, I see now all participants have
They're there.
Yay. So again, if you can see the breakout rooms, please go ahead and feel free to pick the one you want. If you still cannot see the breakout rooms, we will go through and I will get you where you would like to go.
This is Janet. I can't see them.
Okay, Janet, where would you like to go?
Special ed.
I also can't see them. Would you mind sending me to English learners, please?
And I'm sorry, who is that speaking?
Courtney with Aspire. Thank you.
Sorry, okay.
And feel free to send Sam Klein to the English learners.
Wow.
This is Sonia. I can't see it either. Could you send me to SPED?
Yes.
Rebecca, excuse me. Can I choose to join one group and after that jump to another one?
That's
I
a good
think
question.
I believe, again, it's open. So if you can see them, I think you can switch back and forth.
Just one suggestion. I think will be better for next time to make the groups by has last meeting by a school level. So I saw that maybe it will be better if we all elementary school together and talk about the tree. They talk about the chief, talk about the AL, and talk about the special education.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah, thank you. So right now
I can't see the breakout rooms. Could you send me to SPED?
And Rebecca, I don't see it. This is Cheryl. I don't know.
I just sent you,
Oh,
Cheryl.
thank you. Thank you.
So Belinda, was
I'd
that
like
you?
to go with Cheryl.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks.
yes. Okay, Allison,
Hi, if I could go to SPED, please.
got it. Bethany,
Thank you.
Yes, if I could go to English learners, please.
Bridget, do you want to go anywhere? No. Jean,
Ken Venable, special ed, please.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Ken Venable, special ed, please.
Okay, Jean McCarty,
Special ed, please.
Kelly, Alexis,
Special ed, please.
Kasim,
Can
Davis,
you send me to gifted? Can you send me to gifted programs?
got it. Meredith,
Special ed, please.
Sarah Kirkwood,
Special ed.
Sarah Brenton,
Gifted. Thank you.
Sarah Beaton,
I'll go to gifted as well.
and then I don't see you. Jenny, I don't see you on my list here.
You sent me, I think maybe accidentally, to special ed, but if I could go to gifted services, please. Possible to.
Yep, there you go. You got it.
Thank you.
And Sarah or Bridget, do you want to go anywhere?
Can you send me to English learners?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Miss Loft.
That's where I was going to go. So how about I'll go to gifted.
Okay. Jean McCarty
Special ed.
and Mr. Goldstein. Do you want to go anywhere if you're still with us? Welcome back. Hopefully we didn't cut anybody off. I think they have a few more seconds to come back and then we'll just wrap up real quick. Hi, I think we've got most everybody back at this point. Hopefully the breakout rooms were, sorry, again, trying to figure out all the technology, so I appreciate everybody's patience. So we really hope the breakout rooms are providing some additional opportunities, for small group conversation and a little more engagement. So again, appreciate you kind of working with us on the technology side of it. The only thing I just wanted to wrap this up, will keep us on time tonight and say, big thank you to Sam and Cheryl and Kelly and Heather. I can't see everybody. And, DTL for providing those updates and presentations. And I'm sure the conversations in the breakout rooms are great. And if some of the questions in the chat, we have saved the chat. So we'll make sure that they get those questions as well. And if there's any feedback or updates from the breakout rooms or the chat, we'll make sure we put that in the materials that are posted and sent out. And then the next meeting is December the 2nd. And the topic will be the budget, APS budget. So we think that's going to be a very important and informative meeting. So for you to make sure that's on your calendar. And then in January, the plan is, and I put this in the chat as well, the plan is to have 2 meetings in January. Right now, January 2nd is in the recurring meeting, our normal meeting, but we wanted to add a second meeting. And right now we're proposing the 19th because the 20th is Inauguration Day. And that would allow each of our committees to have an opportunity to engage with the ACTL membership and provide an opportunity for some discussion, albeit brief, but on the progress memos that we will be sending out to everybody mid-December. So I just wanted to point that out. So anything else, vice chairs, that I missed? I'm looking for, I'm trying to find everybody on the screen. Okay.
Nothing I can think of.
We're good. Yep.
Sarah, Bridget, DTL folks that joined us, anything that we good? Okay, it is 8:30 and I greatly appreciate everybody's time commitment. I know it's still an interesting time. So thank you so much for your dedication and your commitment and your work, on behalf of ACTL and DTL, and have a great rest of the week and a wonderful Thanksgiving, since we probably won't talk until after Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Enjoy your evening. Have a
Stay
good night.
safe, everybody.
You too.
Happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving,
Rebecca.
everyone.
Thank you.
Rebecca, thanks as always for keeping us on time. I appreciate that.
We try. Bethany, did I miss something you wanted to say?
Nope. I think I'm good. I missed in the chat where you put the dates, but
I just put it in at the very end while everybody was in the breakout rooms.
okay.